Hi, this is Kathy from Gadgets Top 321, and in today's video, I'll be taking a look at my currently inked pen, the Leonardo Momento Zero in the Giada finish. Just one currently inked pen. When I was working, two pens were the ideal number to have inked up at one time, and now that I'm retired, if I have two pens inked up, it takes me forever to empty those two pens, so one is ideal. I've got it inked up with Sailor Tokiwa-matsu, and I'm having some issues with the Tokiwa-matsu. This pen, when I originally got it, had an extra fine nib on it, but I was wanting the extra fine flex, and they were sold out everywhere, so I had to get the Edison branded extra fine flex. This is a Yovo extra fine flex, and I thought this nib, since it's a little bit wetter than the regular extra fine, would work a little better with Tokiwa-matsu. I've had trouble with it in other pens that never have trouble with ink. And when I say trouble, it's minimal skipping, like rare skipping, but just enough not to be infuriating, just annoying. I usually write in my some lines a day, which is like the title says, it's just a few lines in the journal each day, and I might get one or two skips. And I also write about an A5 pages worth of writing each day, and I'll get just a few skips in those, maybe 3 or 4 skips. And like I say, it's just enough to interrupt your train of thought or break your flow, your writing flow. But oddly enough, I've noticed a lot of times when I have an ink that skips, it will get worse as you use the pen. But this has gotten a little bit better. It hasn't completely cleared up, but we'll see when I do the writing sample if we see any skipping. It'll probably be like your car acting funny when you take it to the shop and you try to demonstrate it to the mechanic. It doesn't do it, but we'll see. I've been really happy with this Momento Zero. It's the only one I have. I can see how people get addicted to these because they come in so many beautiful finishes. I am the kind of person that if I have too many choices, I'm just paralyzed by the number of choices, and that's how I was originally with the Leonardo Momento Zero. There were so many beautiful choices of material that not one stood out to me until they came out with this jade finish, and I knew that was the one for me. I'm one of those people that kind of likes that there's a blind cap, even though this is a cartridge converter pen. But I will say on this particular pen, it's not super useful to have that blind cap because the Leonardo converter that came with it is threaded. And I can see the blind cap being useful if you're getting down in, you have to get way down in an ink bottle and maybe you don't want your fingers to touch the rim and get ink on it, or maybe you don't want your section to come loose and fall into the bottle of ink. But with the threaded section, you don't really have to worry about that. But I like that blind cap being there. I like having the option if at some point I have a non-threaded converter, I can see how that would be useful. I really like the roller on the clip. That's just gives it a nice premium look, makes it a little bit special. I like that Leonardo numbers their pens, even though there's not a limited number. That's just a nice little touch. And finally, I just really like the shape of this section. It's just so comfortable. The threads are nice. You can hardly even feel them, but they're nice and smooth. And I like the size and the build quality. It doesn't feel fragile. I don't know, would you call it, is this a resin or a, anyway, the material is thick enough that it feels nice and durable. I don't feel like I have to baby this pen, but it's not so thick that it feels chunky. It's, you can tell they put some thought into the design of this pen. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do my writing sample. I'll be writing on Rhodia. I think this is 80 GSM paper. This is my favorite note-taking paper. Here's another look at the extra fine stainless steel flex nib. Well, I did have the lid off for a bit, so that might be why we're having a hard start here. And I will say the hard starts and skips that I have aren't severe like here. I didn't have the lid off for very long, and that ink kind of dried up, maybe formed a little crust in the nib slit, but you see it started up pretty quickly. Not super wet, but not dry, and this ink doesn't feel dry either. I'm not seeing any skips yet. I'm going to do a little bit of longer writing. I'll speed it up so that you're not just sitting here watching me write forever, and see if I see any skips. Okay, you saw there was a skip there and a skip there. Just half or a little more than half of a vertical downstroke, and that tends to represent the experience I've had with this ink. If I wrote for the rest of this page, it would probably skip 2 or 3 more times. And so, just in this amount of writing, those 2 skips weren't enough to make me stop using this pen and ink combo, though the other inks that I've used in this pen, I never experience any skips like that. I just thought I filmed me writing in reverse, but I didn't have the camera on. Let me show that one more time. It's very smooth in each direction, or as smooth as this fine of a point can write. I find it very pleasant and very nice for writing small, or you can see since it's drier than the regular, if you need to write on some very poor quality paper, that's a nice option to have available. And I had mentioned before I turned the camera on that the regular writing is very similar to a Sailor medium fine, and the reverse writing is very similar to my Pilot extra fine nib that's on my Kakuno. Feels very similar also, that amount of smoothness. So there's one more pen I'd like to try this ink in. It's my Visconti Mirage Mythos with that medium nib. That is a really wet nib because I do like this ink. It's an interesting color. It goes down more of a grassy green and then dries to a kind of dark olivey green. It's a really interesting ink. It also has it has a water resistant component, I guess I should say. When I dipped it in water for 10 minutes, I think the yellow and a little bit of green washed away and it left just blue behind that's pretty legible. So this is an interesting ink, and I used to hear people talking about it a lot, but I think this skipping issue makes it less desirable for some people. But the writing experience when it is flowing well is just really pleasant. I feel like this is kind of a thick ink. I guess I can show in the converter. It's hard to check just at a glance how much ink you have left because it really coats the converter. You have to hold it up to the light. I can see the light coming through. I've got about this much. I've used about this much. So it's kind of a thick ink. And although you don't really see the sheen is not really apparent, there is a little bit of sheen to this ink. And I think that's what's happening here. I think you're getting just a little dried crust of ink in the nib slit. And I don't know if that explains, though, as you're writing and the ink is flowing along, why it skips like that. I don't know. I think the drying in the nib accounts for this little hard start, but I don't know about those skips. But anyway, I am enjoying this pen and ink combination, but I am looking forward to the next pen and ink combo because I just got a new pen in and I'm getting ready to film a video for that. It's a new Pilot Custom 74, even though I just sold my old Custom 74, but I'll save that for the video. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.